Is this divorce going to be messy?
It will not be messy if Mississauga pays us back for what we've invested into their infrastructure. It will be messy if anyone tries to take advantage of the residents of Brampton. We will not take this quietly if anyone tries to take a free ride on the backs of Brampton residents. This is not Canada's Wonderland, and I expect the province to make sure Mississauga pays their fair share. And if they don't, we will consider every legal option available to us.
Canada may get to witness one of the messiest divorces in our country's history. The city of Brampton, Mississauga, and Caledon are parting ways from each other, and it may be the biggest breakup of the year. Hey, it's Brandon Gonez, and thanks for watching the BG Show. We're gonna get into all of these details, but before we do so, I need you to do a few things. Like, subscribe to this channel, tap the notification bell, make sure to like the video, and share and comment below. Alrighty, so on May 18th, Doug Ford's government announced Peel Region would dissolve, making Mississauga, Brampton, and Caledon independent cities. But what does this mean for shared city services like Peel Police, Paramedics, infrastructure projects, school boards, and all the shared services these residents in Brampton, Mississauga, and Caledon use? We reached out to Mayor of Brampton, Patrick Brown, to hear how this divorce is going, and he said, listen folks, things could get messy. Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown, thanks so much for joining me.
How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen to my hometown of Brampton.
We are a little bit nervous, but there could be advantages. The region appeal is another layer of government, and it's been controlled for the last 50 years by Mississauga, that has a majority control of the region. So we've seen disproportionate investments in Mississauga. All the planning, the legal, the finance of the region is all controlled out of the region appeal, and by removing that layer, it may be easier for us to push economic development projects, build housing. So there is potential advantages of not having to go to another layer of government to ask permission for every significant project. My one asterisk in all of this is that since 1974, we have paid in to the region appeal. We have built the water treatment facility in Mississauga, the wastewater facility in Mississauga. We have jointly built the region appeal, even the Peel Police headquarters in Mississauga. And so when you have a divorce and you have one party saying that they don't have to pay anything, it gets my back up. These are hard-working Brampton taxpayers that have built that infrastructure that just happens to be in Mississauga. Some of our initial estimates of what it would cost just to rebuild the water treatment facility and the wastewater would be $4 billion. And previously that would be cost shared. And so I need to see a plan. I need to see a plan from Mississauga of how they're going to pay for that. The Premier has said Mississauga can't dine and dash. They won't be able to walk away from their bill. But I've seen no plan of how we're going to be compensated. And there's a level of urgency to understanding how we're going to pay for this new infrastructure.
Now, a lot of big services in the region of Peel, you think police, you think school boards, they're all shared. Infrastructure projects, they're shared. That means Mississauga, Brampton, Caledon residents all kind of share those costs. With this divorce happening, are we technically looking at potentially Brampton having their own police force, Brampton having their own school board? Have you heard any details about that?
So on the school board, that's separate. The region appeal doesn't govern the Peel School Board. That's the province, and so that is not included in this in terms of the school board. Okay. But yeah, there'll be a lot of questions about how we do policing, how we do paramedics, and my large concern is this, Brandon, is that since 1974, Mississauga grew first. Brampton is now going to surpass Mississauga, but our growth came much later. And so all the critical infrastructure in Mississauga is already built, and we paid 40% of it. Now it's our turn. And the deal was that Mississauga was going to pay their share when it was our time. We paid for their infrastructure, and now we just passed a motion at council to build a new police facility in the west end of Brampton. We just passed a motion to look at new servicing capacity, which costs billions. And it's like you're going for dinner with someone, the bill comes, and then all of a sudden they say, oh, I got to go. I forgot my wallet. That's essentially what Mayor Crombie is doing. And, I just don't think she should be able to dine and dash on the backs of Brampton residents. It's unconscionable.
But if she does end up doing that, that cost ultimately would lie with Brampton taxpayers, correct?
And it would be a catastrophic a bill, not something that we could sustain. And so just on the water treatment and wastewater numbers, it would be $6,000 per resident if Mississauga was permitted to dine and dash. But for me, the big question is this: how can they pay for it? They don't have that type of money to pay for it. And so I've got a lot of questions. I want them to be answered, and I'm hopeful they will.
I want to ask you a personal question. Why do you think Doug Ford chose to do this at this time?
You'd have to ask that question to Doug Ford. It was a request of the city of Mississauga. And so whatever calculation the premier made on why now is the time, ultimately that's something you'd have to ask him.
But I mean, there's been murmurs or rumors circulating that potentially this could have been a way to stop Mayor Bonnie Crombie from wanting to take the leadership at the Ontario Liberal Party. There's been rumors that potentially this was a way to fast track Highway 413 so you didn't have that extra layer of governance with the region of Peel, and you could just, as a premier and as a province, push through a significant controversial project. Has that crossed your mind?
Well, he doesn't require the region for the 413. If they wanted to expedite that, they could just do an MZO for that. And so there's no delay at a regional level for the 413. In terms of the speculation in the media about Mayor Crombie wanting to run for the Liberal leadership and whatever conversations that she may have had with the premier, I think that would be a question to ask the premier or Bonnie Crombie about if there's any side agreement. We're not aware of any.
What is your relationship with Mayor Crombie? Because I did see a recent press conference where, you were getting passionate talking about the fact that Brampton taxpayers shouldn't be on the hook and should get their refund when it comes to those big infrastructure projects in Mississauga. And it looked like she was giving you a bit of side eye as you were speaking. So I'm wondering, how's your guys' working relationship right now?
Well, how would you feel if someone was trying to steal from your city? I'm looking at the numbers. We're talking about billions of dollars that she is saying that she doesn't need to pay. And for me, one of the frustrating parts is, I know there's going to be political rhetoric, but I want it to be based on facts. And one thing she was out saying this week that I found infuriating was she said that Mississauga subsidizes Brampton's policing costs. I literally asked the chief of police to put out the call volumes because I hate this, constant bashing of Brampton. It may be an easy point to make, but it's not true. Chief Nish put out the call volumes. Last year, there was more calls for service for the Peel Police from Mississauga than there was in Brampton. The last 2 years in a row, there's been more calls. Almost on every crime statistic, there is more in Mississauga than Brampton. So, sometimes, when you look at the sensationalized media, you make an assumption that's not based on fact. So far this year, and I know we're early in 2023, there's still more calls for service in Mississauga. There's more auto thefts in Mississauga. There's more calls in totality to the Peel Police in Mississauga, and they also have a Marine unit that Brampton subsidizes. We don't need a Marine unit in Brampton. It's only used in Mississauga.
So is this divorce going to be messy?
It will not be messy if Mississauga pays us back for what we've invested into their infrastructure. It will be messy if anyone tries to take advantage of the residents of Brampton. I will be more than aggressive and more, and we will not take this quietly if anyone tries to take a free ride on the backs of Brampton residents. This is not Canada's Wonderland, and I expect the province to make sure Mississauga pays their fair share. And if they don't, we will consider every legal option available to us.
All right. Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown, thanks so much for those details. We will stay on top of this. And the more details you know, you share it with us.
Thank you.
Hey, it's BG, and I want to know, what do you think about what you just watched? Make sure to drop your thoughts in the comments below, but also make sure to check out even more great content like this video and this video over here. And if you haven't subscribed to the Brampton Gonez Show, do so right now by clicking this button right here.